For years, P-pop was treated as a side conversation, respected locally, ignored globally. Then, one sentence changed everything. An AAA Executive Producer, someone who greenlights careers and shuts doors, with a phone call publicly singled out SB19'S ACON 2025 performance. Not with hype, not with fan language, with industry language, the kind that reshapes touring budgets, festival hierarchies, and future invitations. This wasn't praise for a good show. It was recognition of a shift. What happened on that stage didn't just impress, it recalibrated expectations. And once the industry adjusts its lens, there's no going back. Share this with anyone who still thinks moments like this don't change industries. Some shifts only make sense when you see the full picture. Fan praise is loud, emotional, and powerful, but it lives in comments, trends, and timelines. Industry validation is different. It lives in contracts, budgets, and decisions that shape careers. When an AAA executive producer speaks, they're not reacting as a fan. They're evaluating risk, return, and long-term value. These are the people who decide who headlines, who tours globally, and who gets quietly passed over. An AAA executive producer isn't just a title. It's a gatekeeping role at the highest level of global entertainment. They oversee major award shows, global broadcasts, and international productions involving millions of dollars. Their job is to spot what works before the market fully catches up. That's why their words carry weight. Long after the headlines fade. What makes this moment rare is that executives like this almost never speak publicly about specific artists. Silence is the norm. Praise usually happens behind closed doors. Public acknowledgement means something crossed a threshold. Too obvious to ignore. This wasn't casual commentary, it was a signal, a message to promoters, networks, and industry insiders: pay attention when someone. This senior breaks silence, it's because ignoring the performance would be professionally irresponsible. That's how careers quietly change direction, without announcements, but with consequences. ACON isn't just another concert, it's a high-stakes global showcase. Every act on that stage is competing for more than applause. They're competing for credibility, future bookings, and international relevance. The scale alone matters. Massive production, international media coverage, and an audience trained to judge fast and forget faster. SB19's placement on the lineup mattered because it tested perception.
Let's get it! Hey! 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 Let's get it! Okay, let's go. Drink hard!
They weren't hidden as an opening curiosity or framed as a regional novelty. They were positioned where expectations were high, and that's where artists either survive or disappear. The crowd reaction told one story: immediate engagement, loud responses, and visible connection. But the media reaction told the more important one: focused coverage, replayed clips, and commentary centered on execution rather than origin. That shift is critical. Visually, the performance was clean and confident. Choreography hit with precision. Live vocals held under pressure. Transitions were smooth, not rushed. Nothing felt overcompensated. Most importantly, SB19 didn't perform like guests. They performed like they belonged there. That's what forced attention. Not hype, not fandom, but undeniable professionalism on a stage designed to expose weakness. What impressed the AAA executive producer wasn't just what happened on stage. It was how it happened. Precision is the first tell. Every movement landed exactly on count. No rushing, no hesitation. That level of timing only comes from deep rehearsal discipline and absolute trust between performers. To industry veterans, precision equals reliability. Then there's audience command. ACON's crowd wasn't uniform, different languages, cultures, and expectations in one space. SB19 didn't rely on call and response tricks or fan chants. They controlled attention through pacing, body language, and confidence. That's rare, especially for acts outside the dominant markets. Live vocals under pressure sealed it, loud stages expose weaknesses. Instantly, backing tracks can't hide unstable breathing or pitch issues at that level. SB19 delivered clean vocals, while executing demanding choreography, proving they weren't surviving the performance, they were owning it. Transitions mattered too. The way songs flowed, the pauses between moments, the rise and release of energy. This is show architecture. Executives notice when a set feels intentional instead of stitched together. Virality is temporary. Anyone can trend for 30 seconds, but precision, control, and structure are repeatable. That's why producers care more about these details than views or hashtags. They're signs an artist can deliver every time, anywhere. The global music industry categorizes artists quietly but decisively. There are developing acts, emerging acts, and then there are assets. Assets are artists who can be trusted with big stages, big budgets, and global audiences. The jump between promising and bankable is invisible, but once crossed, everything changes. Most acts never cross it. Talent isn't enough. Consistency, professionalism, and scalability matter more. At ACON 2025, SB19 crossed that line. Not because they were popular, but because they proved they could perform under the same standards as established global acts. For promoters and festival organizers, this changes the conversation completely. SB19 is no longer a risk experiment or a diversity add-on. They become a booking that strengthens a lineup. That means better time slots, repeat invitations, and long-term planning. This is also where the regional act label starts to disappear. That label limits touring routes, budgets, and media framing. Once removed, opportunities expand fast. ACON wasn't just a successful performance, it was a reclassification. SB19 moved from being watched to being counted on, and that shift is irreversible. The biggest opportunities don't arrive with press releases. After a performance like ACON 2025, things happen quietly. Festival re-invitations start first, not as returning guests, but with better billing, longer sets, and primetime slots. Promoters remember who delivered under pressure, and they book accordingly. Brand partnerships shift too. Companies don't chase virality alone, they chase reliability and global appeal. ACON proved SB19 can represent brands on international stages without cultural barriers or performance risk. That creates leverage in negotiations, from endorsement fees to creative control. Touring conversations also change. Venues and promoters want acts that can sell tickets and maintain show quality night after night. SB19's performance sent a clear signal. This is an act that scales globally. That means wider tour routes, better production budgets, and stronger guarantees. International collaborators take notice quietly. Producers, choreographers, and artists don't announce interest. They observe. One standout performance can move SB19 from interesting to worth reaching out to. This is industry momentum. It builds slowly but powerfully. Unlike public hype that spikes and fades, you won't always see it trending, but you'll feel it months later when opportunities stack and doors keep opening. What happened at ACON 2025 wasn't isolated. It sent a signal far beyond one group. For the global industry, it forced a reassessment of P-pop as a serious market. Not a niche, not an experiment, but a source of world-class acts. This moment mirrors early K-pop breakthrough stages when one performance forced executives to rethink assumptions. Back then, success wasn't immediate. It started with quiet curiosity, then strategic investment. SB19's ACON performance fits that pattern almost exactly. The industry is now looking at Southeast Asia differently. Large audiences, strong fan ecosystems, and now proven global-level execution. That combination is impossible to ignore. SB19 didn't benefit from lowered standards. They met the highest ones. Most importantly, this proved that excellence now leads, not origin. Where an act comes from matters less than how they perform when given the platform. That shift is huge. SB19 becomes the reference point. Future P-pop acts won't be compared to expectations. They'll be compared to this. That's how movements start. Not with declarations, but with undeniable proof. Performing at ACON 2025 wasn't a guaranteed win. It was a calculated risk. Global stages come with global scrutiny. Every move is judged not just by fans, but by executives, producers, and promoters trained to spot flaws instantly. One mistake can confirm doubts. One weak moment can erase years of momentum. At ACON, there was no room to hide. Sound systems are unforgiving. Cameras are relentless. Comparisons are immediate. This is why many acts choose to play it safe. Simpler choreography, heavier backing tracks, fewer risks. SB19 didn't, and that decision mattered. Instead of overloading the stage with distractions, they trusted their performance. Clean staging, sharp choreography, live vocals front and center. That kind of creative confidence is risky because it exposes everything, but it also communicates belief in one's own craft. Overproduction can impress temporarily, but it often reads as insecurity to industry eyes. SB19 avoided that trap. They chose authenticity over spectacle and clarity over chaos. The reward was credibility, not applause, credibility. They proved they could deliver without shortcuts. On a stage where many aim to survive, SB19 aimed to stand. That's why the risk paid off, and why it's being remembered. This isn't a spike, it's a recalibration. The next 2 to 3 years will define SB19's legacy phase. Not because they're ending, but because they're entering a higher tier. Expect more strategic appearances, not more noise. Bigger stages, fewer missteps. Growth becomes intentional, not reactive. What happened at ACON 2025 didn't announce itself with fireworks. It didn't need to. The industry noticed because it knows the difference between noise and proof. SB19 didn't win. Attention through spectacle, they earned it through execution. Moments like this don't repeat often. When they do, they quietly reset expectations. Years from now, people will look back and ask when the narrative changed. The answer won't be complicated. It will be this stage, this performance, this reaction. If you value breakdowns that go deeper than trends and timelines, subscribe. If this helped you see the industry shift more clearly, leave a like. And if someone you know still underestimates what just happened, share this with them. Because this wasn't a breakthrough, it was confirmation.